I'm Mallory. I'm here at Soaring Group and Jason's Heart, and I'm here talking to Macala Carter, the Executive Director of Center for People in Need, about the various programs within her organization.
Yeah, well, thank
Welcome,
you. Thank you
Macala.
for having me today. This is so exciting.
Yeah. So, Center for People in Need is a nonprofit organization focused on fighting poverty in the Lincoln area.
Mhm.
Can you tell me a bit about how this organization came to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So this year is our 20th year anniversary. So it's really a pivotal year for us. So 20 years ago, Beatty Brosh is our founder. And Beatty started the organization on Holdridge Street in a little house. And it really was a food pantry. It was a community space for folks that needed support, extra support for them to go and to receive those support items. And largely that came in the food distribution component of it. And quickly Beatty identified that there was greater need than what was able to be supported at her house on Holdridge Street.
That's so
And
cool.
so it is. It's pretty remarkable. And I think like any really rich and really great story, there's a lot of layers and depth to it. So you don't get from A to B. There's a lot of different nuances in between. And
Yeah.
it's true with this story. And Beatty had a friend, Phil Mullen, who is the owner of Garner Industries. And Phil had a large warehouse. And Beatty said, can I use some of your warehouse space? And so she was able to start creating what is known today as the Center for People in Need and what we offer and provide folks by using his warehouse space. When she outgrew it, or probably when she consumed too much, and Phil said, okay, Beatty, I'm imagining it. Then she started looking at other places. And so where we're located today is where we have been for a number of years, but it was by virtue of growing out of the house on Holdridge Street. And so that is really our history. A lot of different steps have been taken to get where we're at today. But right now we stand on three basic pillars. We have our basic needs pillar. We have our education, training, and upskilling pillar, and then we have our workforce development pillar.
Okay.
And so that is really how we support our community. And we like to say that we're paving the way beyond poverty as we look at our future at the center.
I love how something as small as an idea out of a house can become a whole entire organization helping hundreds of people within the community, probably thousands, right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so right now we're serving 1,800 unduplicated households a week.
Oh my gosh.
So wrap your arms around that, 1,800 a week.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, absolutely. And sadly, that number continues to climb.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we're able to meet the growing needs. But what we'd like to do is, when we're talking about those basic needs and those families that are coming in weekly, we want to make sure that we want to stabilize that number. We want to make sure that that number doesn't continue to grow, but instead stabilizes. And we're wanting to do that with our education, upskilling, and training areas.
Okay. I bet that data collection is very, very time consuming and interesting to see.
Yeah, it really is. And I think what's interesting, and I think it's one of those things, people need to understand what poverty looks like. I think we all probably, those unconscious bias, we all have an image, an idea, a notion of maybe of what poverty looks like.
Yeah.
But what people don't understand is 90% of our population, so of those 1,800 households that are coming in weekly, 90% of those folks are employed, with many of them working multiple jobs. So when we think about, you need to get a job or whatever that narrative may be, I'm not going to presume, it's false. Our community does work. It's just that they're not earning a livable wage.
Yeah. Which goes into a whole different can of worms.
It does.
Oh,
yeah. That's for another podcast, I suppose. But yeah.
Have you seen a lot of increase in families needing help with inflation?
Absolutely. And so kind of, and we probably saw it sooner than maybe what the larger community is seeing. There was a lot of support. There was a lot of infrastructure that was built around the time frame of COVID in terms of, what the federal poverty level was being recognized.
Yeah.
And that continues to shift and change now back to pre-pandemic numbers. There were a lot of federal government and aid opportunities for folks to supplement to get through this very difficult time. And our population has started that those support mechanisms have started to decrease.
Yeah.
And so we're starting to see that in the form of more people arriving. I think the other day I was in my office and I heard a woman talking to our front desk team saying, I used to come here. It's been 5 years since I've been to the center. I'm sad that I have to be back here.
Yeah.
But my circumstances have changed just enough that I need to be back here.
Yep.
I'm thankful you're here. I'm sad that I have to be here.
Yeah.
And it was really heart-wrenching. And I think that that's very telling of a larger population that we're seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, that is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And the lower the income threshold, the more affected you are by these things.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, $10 means a lot more to someone
Sure does.
You know, $14K a year versus 20 or 30 even.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We hear people just even gas. I mean, something so basic as, I don't know about you, but when gas prices, rose so steadily, I complained about how much it was, but I was still able to fuel my car.
Yep.
I was still able to, short of complaining, I didn't change any of my behaviors. For our families, that change had to be significant because they weren't able to do the things. Something had to give. Yeah. Something had to give in their budget because it is truly paycheck to paycheck.
Right. And a lot of people don't have credit cards to lean on.
Correct.
In hard times.
Correct.
Yeah. Stuck in that cycle.
Yep. Absolutely.
So you offer food and diaper distribution every weekday. What steps does an individual need to take in order to qualify for those resources?
Right. So for our food, we follow the USDA federal poverty guidelines. And so what that is currently, and I want to emphasize the word currently, is 200% at or below the federal poverty level. And so that is changing. Again, that number pre-pandemic was 180%. My understanding is that we're going to be going down to that. So what it's going to do is it's going to exclude some folks that were receiving services that will no longer be able to do that. So really, 100% of our population identify as low income. So all you have to do to get a center card is to come in, attest that you're at 200% today, at or below that federal poverty guideline, and have a current center card. And that'll allow you to get food. Our food is Monday through Friday, so you can come once a week. Our diaper distribution is for ages 1 to 3 years old, and you can come monthly to get that. And it's a generous supplemental. It doesn't provide diapers for the whole month for your child, but it does provide a heck of a supplement.
Yeah.
And we like to be about 75% of that supplemental service for diapers.
Oh, wow.
And then we have, in terms of our basic needs, we have our care room that is also offered to our community, and that is on Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 1:30 to 3:30.
Okay. And if one qualifies for the food and diaper, they also qualify for the care room?
They do.
Okay.
They do. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Are people able to volunteer with the distribution, and how so if they can?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. So we couldn't do what we do without volunteers. We are a very lean organization. We want to make sure that we are taking our resources and spending them responsibly, and that responsibility goes back to our clients.
Okay.
We don't want to have a lot of overhead in the form of employees, and so we don't. Again, we are very lean for the operation that we have and the scope and the size that we do every single day. We couldn't do it without our volunteers.
Yeah.
So we have volunteers that literally come at least once a week, some of them multiple days a week. We have volunteers, we have a volunteer club. Some of them are at that anywhere from 100 hours volunteered with us to we have one volunteer that's done 400 hours in the last 18 months.
Oh, that's so cool.
Amazing. So, but that's just on our food distribution. That's probably the most known volunteer opportunity, but we have lots of other ones. You can go to our care room and you can support our care room, either restocking, making sure that that room is ready to go based on the donations that we receive from the community. You can we have interview prep classes that we
Mhm.
provide for folks to get that next step in their job opportunity. And so we look for community members to come in and do mock interviews with folks.
Okay.
We have resume building workshops. And so if you are, and we ask our clients to build their own resume, we want
Mhm.
that ownership to be on them, but we help edit. We help provide them with support. Maybe it's a rewording. And so if you're somebody that really fancies themselves as kind of an editor, there's that opportunity. We have, we're going to be starting some, we're calling it community conversations, where folks that are in our ELL program, English Language Learning Program, can come in and have a conversation with new Americans that are coming to the United States. And just that basic conversation, there's an intimacy, there's a comfort, there's a connection just by virtue of doing that. And so we'll be supporting that. We'll be needing volunteers for that.
Yeah.
We have our front desk operation. There's always, if you're somebody that loves people and wants to greet, there's a tremendous opportunity there.
Yeah.
Coming soon for those folks, and this is not me at all and either, but we will be having a greenhouse where our community and our families will be able to have gardens.
Oh,
And so if you're
that's me for
somebody,
sure.
it is. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're somebody that likes horticultural, gardening, all of that, we need support to there, because we don't necessarily know what we're doing. We're learning. We're learning as we go. And then we will also have, it's that kind of that growth to kitchen concept and that food to
Farm
table.
to table.
It is.
Yep.
And then we even take it a step further. So we will also then be having a commercial teaching kitchen where our families will be able to come in and learn how to cook foods that are indigenous to Nebraska, that are indigenous to the United States, so that they understand that. We'll have it in lots of different languages. We will be live streaming it. So folks anywhere in Lincoln, across the United States, even past, can watch and learn. We're going to be doing some canning. We're going to tell people how to put up seeds so they can do their own gardens, even little pot gardens at home. And then we're going to have a food composter that we do have a lot of food each week that people don't take.
Yep.
And in the past, it felt like a waste, and we didn't like that feeling. We tried to use everything in a meaningful fashion at the center.
Yep.
And so we will be getting a food composter too, where we'll be able to take that food, compost it in a commercial composter, and then take it back out to our garden and use it that way. It's going to be amazing. So
I love this program.
If you're a cook,
I'm biased.
Okay, I love it. If you're a cook, if you're a gardener, if you're any of those things, we need support there too. So there's something for everybody. I want a mural. I want a mural painted. So if you're an artist and you want to come and paint, come paint.
Oh, that's so cool.
So we love our community. Lincoln is an amazing place. And so whatever your talents are, we can put them to good use.
Okay.
Yeah.
On your website, it states that you offer non-monetary client assistance to low-income individuals and families with a variety of concerns. What are the ways you provide that assistance?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a gentleman, his name is Solemn, and Solemn provides support to our community, and he speaks 3 different languages, which is tremendous in terms of supporting folks as they get into the United States. But what Solemn largely does is he allows support as people are completing their SNAP benefits, as they're looking at their Medicaid application, as they're looking at it's called LEAP. It's a program where folks are able to get supplemental support for their electric bill. There's a lot of different opportunities. And so Solemn, what he does is he supports our community in that way. When you're scared, when you don't know the steps to take, it's really difficult to navigate the system. And if you're somebody that's unfamiliar with it, because maybe you're new to the United States or you're just new to the circumstances that you're finding yourself in, Solemn is there kind of as that guide. He serves as that navigational support to help you get through it. He makes the phone calls, he does the faxing, he does everything to try to simplify for folks so that it lessens that burden and it lessens those stressors.
And that's hard for somebody that does speak English as their first language.
100%.
I mean, I used to be a care manager, and so I would help people navigate that stuff all the time.
Right.
And you had to really, get to know those programs as someone that's helping somebody else, let alone the person who doesn't have their basic needs met.
Yeah. Yeah, you understand then. You experienced it firsthand. And so Solemn does that, and he does it with such compassion and empathy. It's incredible. His office is right next to mine, and we have real thin walls, so I get to hear everything. And he is just exceptional. He's just a tremendous add to our center.
That's great. Edutech
Yeah.
is a free educational program that you offer. Can you go into some detail about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our new program. Last year at this time, we applied for through the City of Lincoln.
Mhm.
There was a workforce development grant.
Yep.
There were ARPA dollars, and so we were awarded these dollars. And what it allows us to do is to provide Google certifications to clients
Mhm.
to then be able to support them to get into industry specific fields, mostly technology.
Yeah.
And there's project development or a project manager opportunities that you can go through. There's Python, there is UX design, there is, I know I'm forgetting a couple of them, but there are amazing opportunities
Mhm.
for people that want to enter into the tech field that they can earn their certification. It's estimated that it'll take anywhere from 4 to 6 months to complete it.
Okay.
It's self-paced. It is online. But here's the neat thing is we have support at the center.
Yeah.
And so we touch base regularly. We make sure that students, if they're running into barriers, that we're helping solve for it. We're helping individuals as they go through this. We have a really wonderful computer lab that people are invited to come into, and somebody is on staff at all times to help support them. So this is a great opportunity for folks, but self-paced is tough.
Yeah.
It's great. It seems like it's neat that I can sit at home in my pajamas
Yeah.
and learn Python. But the reality is it's far more taxing than one would think. And so we're there to support and to help along the way. We just had our first graduation from Edutech, and it was so neat. And,
Yeah.
and the neat thing is we talk a lot about generational poverty.
Mhm.
And when you're thinking about poverty, that cycle continues because that's what's known. And in the audience, when we had our graduates, their children were there.
Ah,
And that
yeah.
was so beautiful. 90% of the folks that graduated from our EduTech program were parents. Most of them were single parents.
Yeah.
And I think of one person, and she was getting her certification, and it was a big celebration, went up on stage, received it. We said some really neat things about her. And I saw her two little boys in the audience, and they were beaming. There was such pride in it. That's something that they're going to hold on to. They're going
Yeah.
to remember. They may not remember what their mom graduated with in terms of a certification. They may not remember the details and the specifics, but they remember and they'll hold on to that accomplishment and that she did that. And she did it for the betterment of them.
Yeah. And it just takes one person to break that cycle.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And that's the neat thing about the center is, and it's not a prerequisite to work there, but most of the folks that work at the center have a lived experience.
Mhm.
And it may be in poverty. It may be in circumstances where they're in sobriety, drugs,
Yep.
alcoholism. They might be they have their own story and narrative around sobriety. They may have been somebody that was formerly incarcerated and they're supporting our reentry program, or they're not, they're supporting somewhere else.
Yeah.
Again, it's not a prerequisite to work there, but the fact that we have folks there, we have a lot of new Americans that work for us. The fact that we have that in our community is pretty amazing because that level of empathy goes up considerably as a result of knowing what it feels like.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
And having those skills to be able to navigate those tough times with people, because
Yeah.
it's emotionally charged to have to go through those hard things.
It
and
is.
have someone that knows and understands is pivotal.
Mhm. It is, absolutely. I mean, I on repeat, I'm constantly telling people in our board, I recently did an exercise with our board and I said, when you're in poverty, all you're looking at is your basic needs. That hierarchy of basic needs, that's all you can consider. That's all you can think about. How am I going to pay my electric bill? How am I going to pay my gas bill? How am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to do the basics? How am I going to get to and from work?
Yep.
How am I going to pay my child care? How am I going to buy diapers? How am I going to buy food? Those are the basics. And that's all people in poverty can do on repeat because that is what's important. They don't even have the opportunity to cast the net wider, to start thinking about and imagining and dreaming. What if I were my own business owner? What if I was able to get out of poverty? What might that look like? What does it look like to work at a company that is designated an employer of choice? What does it look like when I have a mentor that walks beside me and helps support me? What does that look like?
Yep.
And that's where we're at right now. We serve people with their basic needs, but we want to take them past that. We want them to start thinking about what else can be.
Yeah. Which will get people out of that survival mode.
Absolutely.
But they needed to be supported with their basic needs.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
Let's see here. You offer scholarship opportunities. Is that correct?
We
And can we just
do.
discuss that a little bit?
Yeah, so we offer it's our POP scholarship program, and POP stands for People Obtaining Prosperity.
Mm.
We are 10 years this year, so that's really neat. We've been doing this for 10 years.
Wow.
The number of graduates is profound that we have ran through SCC. So it's in partnership with Southeast Community College, and folks can get tuition free up to 30 hours, credit hours at Southeast Community
Wow.
College. And with a certain GPA, they can continue past. But what we do guarantee folks is 30 credit hours to be able to get that much closer to that associate's degree. And again, if you are somebody that hits a certain GPA, we will continue past that and ensure that you get your associate's degree. So it's a tremendous opportunity for people to get the support system in terms of they don't have to worry about that financial burden. Southeast caters to those non-traditional students.
Yes.
And so when you think about the hours of operation, when you think about what they provide for wraparound services in addition to what we provide, we try to make it as easy and simple as possible.
Yeah.
Now, those are big words that don't translate necessarily when you're talking about all the other variables, but we work really hard to ensure that people are successful.
Yeah. And have it be at least reachable for people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. My last question is, what are some ways the community can get involved and help Center for People in Need to combat poverty?
Yeah. So, and I think I alluded to it earlier, is first, I think that we probably need to dispel some of those misnomers around poverty. You know, what does poverty look like? I think that we all have maybe a vision of what it looks like, and that's not always an accurate vision. So many people are one emergency away from falling into that poverty cycle. Some people are one life event away from it. Some people are, again, 90% of our population are working. Yeah. And they just don't know what else is out there because this is what they've always seen. Again, that generational poverty. I'm going to kind of get off the path for just a moment, but I come from 22 years in banking. I've left a 22-year career in banking to enter into the nonprofit space. And I remember interviewing a person in banking. I was doing an interview for, I don't even remember what the role was or position. And it was this woman that was in front of me. And she says to me in the interview, probably one of those first questions, why are you interested in this role? Yeah. And she says to me, I don't have the confidence to apply for a bank job, but my son encouraged me and told me I could do it. But I've always worked at gas stations. I've always worked at fast food restaurants, and I've never thought that I would be qualified for a bank job. Yeah. And it was one of those moments that it's like, you are though, you are. But no one ever told you you could, and thankfully her son did. And so when we talk about poverty, we want to talk about it from a different lens and from a different scope so that we can support folks getting out of poverty. Again, pathways beyond poverty. And so when we think about people helping, it's that goofy, the three T's, the time, talent, and treasure. And they do still stand, correct. And, the time is that volunteer piece. We can use people every day, all day, and we have amazing volunteers. We can always use more because we are growing. That talent piece, we talked about. If you're good at gardening, if you're good at cooking, there's opportunities for you. Share your talents. Even if you want to dabble in something, come talk to us. I've got something for you. We can play around with it. So it's that talent piece. And treasure, that's we are a nonprofit organization. We are largely funded by individual private donors. We're funded by foundations and from grants. And we are a large operation. Last year, our budget, we ended our budget 2022 just under $3 million budget. That's our operating budget. And this year it's at $4.6 million. So again, we are growing considerably. And with that growth comes more programs, more opportunities. We're excited about it because we can influence and touch and impact more people, but we can't do it without financial support. And we're lucky to have amazing donors, but we could always use more. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And really 4.6 million, considering how many people you impact, isn't a whole lot.
Right. Yeah. That is true. Absolutely. So we couldn't do it without the generosity of our Lincoln community and beyond.
Mhm.
We have a lot of donors that are even outside of Lincoln. That's just tremendous.
Yeah. Well, thank you for meeting with me.
Thank you. This has
Yeah.
been a delight. I
Yeah,
appreciate
I've
it.
learned a lot. I
Mm,
hope you have a good day.
thank you. Appreciate
Bye.
it.